No, man, but you got to keep going. What am I going to do, quit? That's not an option. You got to keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it? You make it work for you. You never give up, man. That's my philosophy.
Hey gardeners, hope you're all having a great day out in your garden. I'm out here checking out my giant pumpkin. We got a bee pollinating our flower right now. And the plants are doing really awesome. I did decide on keeping 2 of the plants. There's one over here, and we're trailing them along and around. And then it's gonna go back towards the rest of the garden back here as we got them turning right now. And I think I saw over here too, possibly our first fruit too. So hopefully we'll get some really big pumpkins out of our plants this year. I'm really excited about that. But I'm also excited about our show today. We've got James Weston, Farm Boy James, and the Hippie Chick Homestead with us today. So all right, everybody, let's get growing. All right, my passionate plant people and garden enthusiasts. Welcome to the Let's Get Growing show here on the Urban Gardener channel. I'm Enoch. I'm your host today. We've got a great show ahead for you today. We've got joining with us here a little bit later for our featured conversation, James Weston, Farm Boy James, joining us to talk all about chaos gardening and community composting, maybe a little beekeeping too. And we also got Angela from the Hippie Chick Homestead joining us for our Are You Following Me? Coming up here in just a few minutes as well, too. So again, thank you all for being here, and stay tuned for these fantastic guests coming up here on the show. And if you can, here right at the top of the show, let's go ahead and do that. Let's click that like button, hit the thumbs up, as well as subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Bell notifications so you can be notified of all of our upcoming live streams, and definitely share with all of your garden friends and let them know that we're here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern, here on the Let's Get Growing show with lots of amazing guests. And also big, huge shout out to you Team Replay viewers. Thank you so much for joining with us here today on your time. It's great to have you here. And if you can, definitely drop into our comments section below. Let us know you're here. Let us know where you're growing from, what you got growing on. How's the garden going? Got lots of stuff? Are you harvesting things? I want to hear all about it down in the comments section below, or just stop by and say hi. Love to hear from all of you. So thank you so much for doing that. And if you are here with us live, definitely join in on the conversation with everybody in the chat. And we also have our roll call coming up as well, too, here in just a few minutes as well, too. So like all of our Team Replay viewers, let's drop into the chat here. Let us know where you're growing from, what you've got growing on, all of that. I want to hear all about it. And we'll give you a big shout out here in just a few minutes on our roll call. And if you do have any questions or comments for our guests coming up, definitely drop those into the chat. And if you've got any channels or anything like that, let us know as well, too. We'll be featuring those comments and things throughout the show at the bottom of the screen. And again, thank you all so much for being here and dropping in and joining the conversation here. It's really awesome to have you all with us. And also, follow all the links down below in the description to our guests. We've got links to their content as well, and you can go over and check out what they've got growing on. And do us a big, huge favor here at the Let's Get Growing show. Drop into their comment section on one of their videos or posts or something, and let them know that you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show. So love it when you guys do that. It's a great way to support the show, support our guests for taking their time to be with us here on the show. And yeah, it's really awesome that you guys do that. I really appreciate it. And awesome. So hopefully everything's going great for all of you in the garden. I just showed you all there at the beginning a nice little clip of our pumpkins growing. I'm really excited about those. And I noticed too, just after I filmed that clip as well, that I had like one or two other possible fruits that are popping up as well. So we'll be just waiting to see which one of those actually pollinates and starts to balloon up. Once they start gaining some size and all of that, then we'll see where the plants are at that point in time, and then we'll take them down too, because I've got the two plants, and we're going to try to keep them single leaders, and I'm going to be cutting off all of our suckers that pop off everywhere. And we're going to keep single leaders and hopefully have just one single fruit per plant, maybe a backup down the line. We'll just to see how well those ones go for a little while, and then hopefully we'll have a couple of really nice, good-sized pumpkins by the end of the season. I've been telling everybody I'm excited about this because I want to get some really cool pictures with my little granddaughter and a nice big giant pumpkin. That was just kind of my goal for the year. Out of everything, I was like, I don't care whatever else happens in the garden, I want to have these two nice big giant pumpkins that I can grow and get some pictures with my granddaughter at the end of this growing season. So really excited about that. Everything's looking great with those plants so far, and we just hope that everything else is going to be going good too. I was talking a little bit also last week just about having really this just amazing weather for us. I mean, really, to tell you the truth, um, and I'm sorry for all of you more on the East Coast and everybody else is basically getting the weather that we usually get here during the summertime. But we've been having a moderate summer. It's been getting a little warm. We've been getting right up into a little lower 90s or so around here. But we're usually at this point in time 100 plus, and it's just really, just the heat kicks in the summertime and just gets going, and it really does just kind of slow down a lot of the production of all of our plants and everything. So it's been really awesome to see our tomato plants doing amazingly well this year. And as I was also mentioning last week too, I did get out for just a little bit to film a early summer garden tour. Again, that's my kind of goal for videos this year. Just kind of give you guys a good look around at the different things that we've got growing on. So I started to film a summer garden tour yesterday, and I'll just tell you, one of the things that I know a lot of you who make content or create videos and all this sort of stuff, I know this frustration, but it just seems like everything's great, everything's quiet in the neighborhood until you break out a camera and you start to film, and then everything starts to happen. I mean, I swear, I took about 7 different attempts at getting this thing started up, and twice had emergency vehicles come rolling by. I mean, really close, just like blasting into the audio and everything. I had a car come driving through the alleyway right as I was getting started with another one. We had neighbor dogs come running through and up and all of that sort of stuff. Airplane. Had a nice big huge airplane, because actually the planes follow it, usually going in the airport or on the other side of town heading into the airport. But it's fire season as well too, and we did have and do have, and I wish I would have got a picture of this, but we do have a big fire that started yesterday, early yesterday, and it's blowing up. It's just north of us here in my county here in Southern Oregon, Jackson County. And so hopefully I didn't check on that yet before we got the show started, but so the planes are flying by in this other route as they're going through and heading towards that fire. These are big things that got like a lot of the fire retardant and other things as well too, that they go and fly over these fires and stuff. So they're flying right over my house. And it was about at that point in time where I was like, you know what, I think we're just going to have to wait another day or so, because it's just not working out in order to get that done. But I am working on it. I'm going to have it out for sure. And I promise I'm going to get one done, and we'll have it out for this week for sure, so you guys can get a good look around at all of the garden spaces, not just the not just the little clip that I get to give you here on our Saturday show of our pumpkins today and other things throughout other weeks and all of that, but a good full garden tour. We'll get that going here real soon as well too. And another thing that I noticed too, as I was going through in the kitchen and getting some things together this morning on my produce shelf, I noticed this. And I don't know if you've all seen this before. I'm sure some of you gardeners are really familiar with vipperary. And this is when seeds within a fruit start to sprout out. And I don't know if you can really see it here. I do got a picture here. I'll show you actually. Here's the fruit, but here's a real close up of it. When the plants start to sprout out from your fruit, and as you can see here too, there's a bunch of bulges on the side of that fruit as well too, as there's more little plants inside there just trying to pop through the skin of this tomato. But we do got one of them. We do got one of them that's popped out here and trying to grow out of our tomato. I don't know. I'll see what else happens with the rest of it and everything too. This isn't one of the tomatoes from our plants. This one here is a store-bought organic vine ripe tomato of some variety that's shelf stable. You know, you'll find at the store. But yeah, I mean, kind of amazing. I've seen the vipperary in some other things, some other types of things. I had a squash that I cut up open once that had a bunch of them growing in there, and a couple of other things. I've seen like corn do some of this as well, and some other types of fruits as well do this, but I've never had a tomato do it and do it so well. I mean, the thing is just really just ripping right out of the side of that tomato. So that was really cool find here today as we're getting everything started. But yeah, let's jump in here real quick. I know all of you have been jumping into the comment section here and getting ready for roll call.
My name is Kevin.
Yeah.
That is my name.
Yeah.
They call me Kevin.
Yeah.
Because that's my name.
Roll call.
All right, roll call time. This is the time where we get into the conversation here and see who's all joining with us today for a little shout out. And right at the top of our roll call here, we definitely want to give a big, huge shout out to our chat facilitator and producer, Jay, the J-Bot, joining us from Huron County, Midwestern Ontario, Canada, in the lee of Lake Huron. Keep an eye out throughout the conversation for links and other information that Jay shares here throughout the show. We've got Joe from Muddy Puddles Farm joining us from over in Cornwall, UK. She says, where it is hot. That's okay. Well, you're getting some of that heat as well, too. Well, even over the Atlantic that we're seeing over on the East Coast here in the U.S. Got harvests of carrots, beets, turnips, kale, chard, peas, and piles of herbs are rolling in, and the tomatoes are on the way. Awesome. That sounds like lots of great things growing on in your garden. Thanks for jumping in with us today. We've got David from Bowtie Life in the Garden. Triple G, greetings, global gardeners from Old Destin, down in Destin, Florida, where ginger and turmeric are popping up everywhere, and the garden seems to be greener every single day. Yes, that is awesome. Great to have you here, David. Thanks for joining with us here today. We got our friend Chad from Down Home Backyard Gardening. He's in there. Hey, Chad, great to see you. Great to have you here with us today. And we've got Rob in the chat with us as well, too, joining us from over in the UK. Rob's Attic, Rob's Allotment Gardening. Thank you for being here. Great to see you. Always great to see you in the chat there. And another viewer. I know we got so many viewers from the UK. It's so great that you guys hang out in the evening to come and join with us here on the show. We got Sean the Gardener joining us as well from Cornwall. Must be just right down the road from Joe there at Muddy Puddle Farm. And we've got Root Delation in the chat. Hey there, great to see you. Thanks for jumping in and joining with us today. And Katrina from over in Sow and Tear joining us from up in Douglas County, Oregon, just a little north of me here in Southern Oregon. And she's listening in while organizing her shed, internet, maybe in and out. I love chaos gardening. I hope everyone is doing well. Yes, indeed. We all hope you are doing well too. Thank you so much for being here. Our good friend Will, big Will dog in the soil. Great to have you here, Will. Thanks for jumping in. Great to see you. And Shawnee from Shawnee Grows, listening in from Minnesota. Caught a ride to the garden. The van's broke down. Oh, no, that's unfortunate. Well, at least you got a ride and you're out there working in your garden, getting a couple of hours in there. You're harvesting kale, chard, herbs, green beans, and then back home working in the kitchen, making something with all that good stuff that you getting out of your garden, I hope. Janet McDonald, great to see you. Great to have you here. Rain, you're getting rained on. Well, that's good. That's good. It's always good to hear about rain this time of year anyways. Heavy soaking, sparkle cooling, exciting. Texas Hill Country, Zone 9A, just hit 100 degrees this week. Ooh. 100 degrees with some rain. I bet the humidity is a little high as well, too. Boy, Rutilation says nothing growing but sweet potatoes. Well, sweet potatoes are pretty good. I love some sweet potatoes, that's for sure. Oh, and the first round of seedlings for the fall garden. Yes, it's about time to start thinking about that fall garden, right? Here we are, summer's just kind of getting going, so we're in the middle of our summer gardening season, but it's about this time that we got to start thinking ahead towards our fall garden. Definitely. Sean says, terrible weather here. Rain Monday, hopefully. Oh, terrible. Oh, no. And let's see, we got Vay's Place in here. Awesome to see you. Thank you for jumping in on the conversation. Will says he's joining us from Indianapolis, Indiana, and he's got all the things growing now. Everything you can, right? We got our other moderator, Adam Burley, in the chat as well, too. Join us from Central Point, Oregon, which is just right up the road from me here in Southern Oregon. He's listening in today while doing a yard sale. A yard sale, right on. Hopefully you got lots of customers checking out the yard sale, hauling away all those good things you're selling there. And Vay's Place says Southwest Ohio. Awesome. Great to have you here from Ohio. Growing with Stella. Greetings to you all. She's eating. You're eating. All right. Excellent. Well, another great thing to do while you're watching the show, right? You can eat as well as work in your garden, work in your kitchen, do all sorts of fun things while listening in here on the Let's Get Growing show. Shawnee says, the produce stand sold out of watermelons 2 days ago in a row. And you're very upset about it. I know. Watermelons, got to have the watermelons. That's another thing, though, too, that I think that's really kind of exciting about the garden space that I'll show you all in the video I'm going to do this week is my watermelons in a few different spots around the garden are really starting to stretch out and take off now as the weather's warm enough and those roots are really feeling it. So I'm hoping we'll get some good watermelon fruits off of our plants this year as well, too, because it's one of my favorite things is watermelon, and if I can grow my own, even better. Shawty says, tried to film a video this morning and there was a motor running the insulation into the attic in the audio. Oh man, I'm telling you that it's just so frustrating. It can be so frustrating. I just got to a point where there was just too many things. Every time I would get going and just get started, I'd be a couple of minutes in and then something would happen. And then when it finally, I noticed that the planes were doing their route for this fire we've got here in Southern Oregon. I was like, it's probably good. Probably just good to call it for a day because we're not going to be avoiding those things. And he says, yep, every time mowers start only when I start filming in the garden. It's everything. Another thing that's really interesting, if you film out, on location in places out in public, I'll always try to find a nice spot, not very many people, nice and quiet. I can get going and at least do, a couple of clips or something. But it's always whenever I click the on and start talking to the camera, people seem to show up everywhere and they're all around you looking and wondering what you're doing and everything. So so many things that could cause a little bit of frustration and fun, if you will, when it comes to filming different videos and everything. Let's see here. John Jude says, hi, I just wanted to say I've got my best garden ever. Followed the Garden Family channel for helping me with my healthiest seedlings every 6A Mid-Ohio and eating black crim. Black crim tomatoes are great. I grew those a couple of different seasons. Yes. Excellent. It's great to hear that everything's going great in your garden. Oh, let's get through here. I'm running out of time here. We got to get through and hopefully get everybody here. We got our guest coming up here in a minute. Angela from Hippie Chick Homestead. Awesome to have you here in the chat. It's going to be such a bad fire season. Oh, I know. Over here in the West Coast is just awful when it comes to the fires, and it was really sad to see this one pop up yesterday. And Adam, he knows as well too. He's probably a little bit closer to this fire than I am as well too. Watch Duty just updated the fire is at 2,000 acres. Oof. So it's grown another 500 since I saw our last update last night to at 1,500. Yeah, and it blew up from just a couple of 100-foot or acre grass fire all the way to this 2,000. So hopefully they get that under control as well too, because it's pretty close to us and I'm not looking forward to any smoke or anything here. Look to Nature says, hey, Green Thumbs, it's great to have you here. We got Dusty Flats joining in with us. Naked Gardening, North Carolina. Oh, Farm Boy James sent you. Awesome. Well, great to have you here. Awesome to have you here joining with us. I hope you enjoyed the show and the conversation coming up here with James. I'm really excited about talking with him as well, too. We've got Jen Shattuck, 8286, just outside Portland, Oregon. Seriously expanded my garden this year, mostly berry fruits, herbs, and edible flowers. Edible flowers. All right. Excellent. Along with a few veggies and rhubarb. I know I got to get me some rhubarb. I really got to do that. And all right, for another UK viewer, Anna, it's great to see you back with us here. Join us from Northumberland, UK. Great to have you here. Great to have all of you here. Thank you all so much for jumping in on our roll call today. And if you didn't get your shout out here on the roll call, definitely keep jumping into our chat here. We'll feature you throughout the show. Leave us some comments and definitely jump in with some questions for our guests coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Let's take our first quick break here, and we'll be right back with Are You Following Me?
Hello, Let's Get Growing Live Gardening Community. I'm Charles Malky, biologist and co-founder of Ivy Organic brand products. Ivy Organic is based on whitewashing, a time-tested way to protect plants from summer sunburn, winter sun scald, pests, transplant shock, and environmental stresses. Unlike latex or tar-based products that crack, peel, and leave residue on your soil indefinitely, Ivy Organic is truly organic and a healthier alternative. It dries on porous, allowing plants to breathe and heal naturally without rotting. Also ideal for protecting your pruning and grafting wounds. Available in white for maximum reflection or natural tones like brown, green, gray, and grayish. Ivy Organic protects while blending beautifully with your landscape. Choose from the whitewash oil-free formula or the 3-in-1 plant guard made with natural oils to help repel insects and rodents. Protect your plants the smart, organic way with Ivy Organic. Learn more at ivorganics.com and wishing you all happy gardening.
Hi gardeners, I'm Brandy, the Suburban Gardenista, and I'm here today with your garden trivia question for this week. Your question for today is, what is a specialist pollinator? And your options are A, a busy bug that visits every flower it can find, B, a creature that's adapted to only pollinate certain types of plants, C, a pollinator that only works during the daytime, or D, an insect that consumes pollen but avoids nectar. I'll be back a little bit later in the show with the answer.
So, all right. Do you know the answer to Brandy's trivia question? Jump into the chat there and we'll catch up with her here in just a little bit and get the answer to this week's trivia question. Also, big, huge shout out again to our sponsor, Ivy Organics. Go visit them over at ivyorganics.com and get yourself some of that 3-in-1 plant guard and use our promo code GROW10, GROW10, and get 10% off. Also, did you get a chance to check out last week's show? Last Saturday, I wasn't here. I took the 4th of July off, but we did have a J-Bot takeover. Our producer, Jay, hosted the show last Saturday and had Joe from Muddy Puddles Farm joining in with a great conversation there. So definitely go back and check out that show if you haven't had a chance to yet. It's always fun to see the conversations that Jay gets into when I'm not able to make the show. And we were back again for our Sunday edition. Last Sunday, we had our good friend John Kohler from Growing Your Greens joining with us, as well as a nice little sneak in visit from our good friend Wendy Fan over at Wendyland jumped in as well too to join in on that conversation. So definitely go check out those shows if you didn't get a chance to yet, and go leave us some comments and all of that sort of stuff as well too. So again, thanks for doing all of that and checking out our show. And let's get these moving along here too. We're running just a couple of minutes late here, but it's time for Are You Following Me?
Are you following me? Are you following me, dude?
All right. And for this week's Are You Following Me, we have joining with us Angela Kane, joining us from Hippie Chick Homestead. Great to have you, Angela. Thank you so much for joining with us here on the show today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Excellent. Yeah. If we again too, finally getting here too. It's been we had a little bit of space in between with our show and all that sort of stuff, but I've been trying to get you on here, and we finally able to get you here to talk all about what you've got growing on over there at Hippie Chick Homestead.
Yeah,
how's the
life
garden
happens,
growing?
huh?
Yeah, it sure does. How are things growing over there? What's going on?
It's coming along. The tomatoes are finally starting to sort of take off, and finally got the sweet potatoes in, and they're growing, and so it's
excellent.
We're making progress.
That's always good, right?
Yeah, like I said,
I've been worried myself. I just didn't really ultimately didn't really think I was going to do too much and get just a few things growing, but everything's just growing so well and doing so awesomely, and everything else is too without much effort on my part. So it's great to see things coming along as well. But you were mentioning in the chat there too about wildfires. I know you're you're here in the Pacific Northwest. Where are you exactly again?
I'm in a really small community called Warren, Oregon, which is in the northwest corner of Oregon. We're about 40 miles outside of Portland, northwest.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was just wondering. I knew you were either like southern Washington up in the northern Oregon area, but yeah. So again, wildfires, and we're already seeing our first one here. Hopefully, you guys don't have to deal with too many up there and all of that. But
we have to deal with the smoke from Eastern Washington fires. It comes down along the Columbia River Gorge, and we deal with that. We haven't had a lot of fire pressure in our immediate area, but the smoke definitely impacts us.
Yeah. That's my big worry about this one. And luckily, the wind must be blowing in a different direction at this moment in time. Because last night I was like, oh, we're going to wake up to smoke everywhere. It's going to be awful. And then luckily it came out. It was like, still all right. I'm like, okay, the wind's blowing in a different direction, but it's so close to us that I know as soon as the wind changes direction, we'll be full of it here as well too. Because that's the worst part of it for us, living in our communities and everything, is having to breathe that heavy smoke, let alone all of those firefighters who have to get out there and fight all of that sort of stuff as well too.
Yeah. Our county, the fairgrounds, usually hosts animals that are being evacuated from other counties. And it's just the community response is always amazing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And then again, we got our restaurants and hotels and all that sort of stuff fills up with all the folks
Yeah.
who are fighting all these sort of things as well too. So it is good to see, everybody who's out there working hard. I just can't imagine what it's like to have to do that kind of work.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into it here. Let's talk a little bit about your garden story. How did the gardening come into your life? Were you, is it, I always ask, is this something that is kind of a lifelong type of thing that you've been doing, or
Yeah.
something that you, like me, though, I found gardening and growing food later in life. So to me, I find it's always interesting to see how people get started growing their gardens.
My garden story started really as a young child. We were living in Germany at the time. My dad was military, and somehow the military had messed up his pay, so he wasn't getting paid regularly, and we were hungry. So my mom took us to, under cover of darkness, went down to a neighbor's farm, and we stole corn from his farm to eat. And we got home and we realized it was feed corn and it wasn't suitable for human consumption.
Oh, no.
And after we left Germany, we went to my grandmother's, and my grandparents lived in Arkansas. And I was totally blown away by how much produce she had in her pantry that she had canned from her own garden. And just the contrast of not having enough food and the abundance that my grandmother had just stuck with me over the years. So as an adult, I've had gardens here and there. And it wasn't until COVID, and then when I retired 2 years ago, that I really expanded. We moved to property outside of Portland that we have 2 acres. And so I'm able to grow a lot more than I was when we lived in Portland. So that's where it all started.
Yeah. So, again, kind of a mix of both, right? Kind of almost a lifelong thing, but yet, something that you're really just kind of getting into here later in life as well. So that's really awesome. It's really, it doesn't matter when we discover growing and gardening, right? It's just that we're into it now, and it becomes this thing that, we're going to do for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. Once you get your hands in the dirt, it just kind of sticks with you. You can't stop doing it.
Yep. And then you find this just amazing gardening community that's out here as well too. And then you gain just all these great friends everywhere as well too, right?
Absolutely. That's been the best part. I didn't start YouTube, the Hippie Chick Homestead channel, until just like a year and a half ago. And I did it primarily just to keep track of what I was growing in my garden. It was a way to record what was happening so I could look back. And then I discovered the Coast to Coast crew at Down Home Backyard Gardening, and it just exploded. I've gained a family that I didn't even know was out there. So it's been great. That's been the best part of gardening.
Yeah. I love what Chad does over there with the Coast to Coast group and all of that as well too. It's just anywhere where you're seeing folks, a community within the community kind of thing, really thriving and doing some really awesome things. And I just love that whole concept of doing that video where you get everybody on there from growing all in different places and stuff. So each one of those videos is going to pertain to some gardener out there for sure. So I just love that. It's great.
Yeah. I've learned so much, and I'm able to do things differently in my garden that have been more productive. So it's been fantastic.
Yeah. And Will's in here. He says, ask Angela if she's a real hippie.
Oh, Will, come on. Those are secrets.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm not a real hippie. I'm very type A, and very things have to be very organized for me. And so the Hippie Chick Homestead, I'm not sure if I qualify as a real hippie chick.
Really? Well, how did the name come around then?
It's totally a fluke. I used to be a runner, and I ran a half marathon called the Hippie Chick Calf. And it just, it stuck. I just loved the phrase hippie chick. And so when we moved out to the country, I decided to go with the hippie chick homestead.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there it goes. And then, well, it's just, it is what it is. It's gonna stick now. I like Jay says, real hippie chick over there. Her for sure. I love it. That's great. But no, it's stick. You're a hippie chick now. That's what it is, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, since I retired, I've adopted more hippie chick tendencies, definitely.
That's right, huh? So you like your garden just a little organized? That's a little bit different than our upcoming guest
Yeah.
that we've got too.
Yeah, I know. Farm boy James is into chaos gardening, and I think that'd probably make my head explode. I can't even understand the concept.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I do like the concept and everything. I think it's fun, but I lean a little more in your direction as well too. I've got certain, limited spaces and all of that, so I want to be really kind of like very purposeful about what I'm doing, and and I do kind of like straight lines and all that sort of stuff. It's just kind of how my brain works.
Yeah.
Some of our brains just work that way, and
Yeah.
then we think about like just throwing some seeds around or something. It's like, I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah, I can't control that. I can't tweak individual plants that way. I have to be in control. That's the bottom line. I have to be in control of what happens out there.
Right, exactly. So tell us a little bit. So again, you've only done a garden for a couple of seasons, right? A few seasons.
I started during COVID. So
right, yeah.
On this scale, I've only been gardening about 6 years, and then just started the YouTube channel a year and a half ago.
Yeah. So what has, since you've gotten started growing and gardening, what's been your biggest gardening challenge?
It's all a challenge.
The whole thing.
Probably in my area, we're on basalt rock here in our area of Oregon. And so it's got to be rocky soil. I grow everything in raised beds or containers because I can't even get a shovel, an inch in the ground. So that's definitely the biggest challenge.
Yeah, definitely. But again, it's kind of similar situation for me, just more on the limited space. I've got like a couple of places where I can get in ground, but for the most part, I got to do raised beds and containers. But there's a ton of really awesome, cool things that we can grow when it comes to raised beds and containers, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What's some of your favorite things to grow in your garden so far?
I only grow things that we eat.
Okay.
And probably my favorite is things that I can turn into spices. So I grow paprika peppers so I can smoke them and dry them and turn them into paprika powder, garlics, onions, celery, those kinds of things. And then I always have to grow sweet potatoes just to prove those people wrong that say you can't grow sweet potatoes in the Pacific Northwest. You absolutely can.
Oh man, they thrive. They do really well.
Yeah, they do great. It's a matter of timing when you're going to get them in the ground, but they do fantastic. So those are my favorites. And then, everybody's standby tomatoes and peppers and, those kinds of things.
Yeah. And I also say too, for those out there, would think also that you need to grow them in the ground. I think sweet potatoes do really well in a nice big, large pot.
Yeah.
And they don't need much of anything either too. And one of my best sweet potato harvests I ever got was from a big, huge storage bin that I used to just kind of I was replacing and mixing some soil up in an area and just took the straight dirt right out of the back alley area and stuck it into this container. And it was just sitting there as I had the sweet potatoes, an extra sweet potato slip or two I wanted to plant somewhere. And I was like, you know what, let's just stick it in there and try it out. Right.
Yeah.
And it ended up being I had big fat sweet potatoes that came out of that just goes to show that they really do well and they don't need much of anything at all.
No, the more you ignore them, the better they grow. They just take off.
Yeah, definitely. Kelpie, she lives just a little bit north of you as well too. She's like, they don't do too well. They must not do too well for her over there. But yeah.
I think she's got a little bit of elevation. Kelpie Capers does, and I think that may impact her ability to grow sweet potatoes.
Right. that could be the situation, right?
Yeah, we're right along the Columbia River, so our elevation is 2 feet.
Yeah. Anything you try to grow that just doesn't work out for you, though? Some things that you
Carrots.
I always say, I want to give up on, and that's how I kind of have to phrase it, is I want to give up on them, but they present that kind of challenge. I'm back at it every single season trying to do it again.
I'm giving up on carrots. I just can't grow them. They don't like me. They'll, I can get them to germinate, but then they turn woody and they're not edible. I know Big Will Dog 82 in the Soil he's done shows on carrots and growing carrots. And I always think, well, I can do this. And yet I can't. They don't work.
Oh man. Yeah. Carrots were kind of a challenge for me as well too. The one thing that I found that really started to help me out was just a simple method a lot of gardeners share out there is it's all in the getting them to germinate, and they take a little bit to germinate, but just covering them until they start to germinate and pop up, and then remove that cover from them, and then they get going for me and stuff. But that was something that really helped me out in finding a little bit of success with carrots for sure.
Yeah. The other thing I don't grow, and I've tried, and I can grow it, but I don't spend a lot of time or effort on corn. It's cheap enough to buy at the farmer's market, and we have a lot of wind. We're very windy here. So, it doesn't pollinate that well. So I don't mess with it.
Yeah. And again too, you gotta, focus some of your time as well on those things that are successful.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, you're growing things because these are things that you're trying to harvest for food. This is, you're trying to eat from your garden, and you kind of need things that are going to work. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
I don't have the space to grow as much as I'd like to grow.
So, all right. Okay. So you just mentioned too that you just started online and sharing your garden just a couple seasons ago. Tell us a little bit about what was kind of the thinking behind that. I find it interesting, again, even for myself too, it was kind of like I'm doing this garden, I'm growing along and all of that. But then all of a sudden we think, hey, you know what? Let's break out a camera and let's put ourselves online and share our garden experience and all of that too. So what was kind of the thought process behind that?
It really was, when I first started, it was just a way to keep track of what I was growing and compare how I was doing in, succession years. So I could look back and say, okay, my tomatoes did really well in this bed, but not so well over here. So I'd know what I had to do to amend things. And then, I watched like Chad's channel and Brian at Next Level Gardening. And once I joined the Coast to Coast crew, it kind of became a family, and it just grew from there. But when I started, it was really just to keep track of things. And also, if I'm honest, I'm very shy and I'm a total introvert. And when I retired, I was afraid that I would stop learning new things. So it was a way to learn technology and a new way of communicating my love of gardening.
Yeah. That's again, really awesome. And just there's so many folks out there doing things and sharing and all of that it's a great community to jump in and get involved with and do all of that. And for someone who's pretty shy and introverted, you do pretty well though in front of a camera and hanging out here with us and all of that. So
this is easy.
Yeah. I mean, just having a conversation about gardening is pretty easy, right?
I mean, who doesn't like to talk about gardening? I'm sure people in the grocery store get tired of me talking about gardening.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Again, that's why we have to have places like this where we can get together and we can hang out, we can talk about stuff to give some relief to those people around us in our normal life that are just like, come on now.
My husband gets tired of me dragging him out there to show him, a single tomato that's growing. He's like, okay, that's a tomato. I'm like, no, it's a tomato. Yeah, totally. That's why I'm on YouTube.
Yep, exactly. All right. Let's see here. tell us a little bit here. I'm going to before we let you go too, about what you got coming up on your channel and what you got growing on for the rest of the season here.
Well, I think I'm not good at planning what I'm going to have on my channol, so it's usually kind of
Me
spur of
too.
the
I
moment.
feel you there for sure.
It's like, oh well, today we'll talk about how messy the greenhouse is. But I do want to kind of keep track of how the sweet potatoes are doing, and I haven't been able to trellis and trim some of my tomatoes, and so I'm going to kind of compare how much production I get out of trellised and trimmed tomatoes versus, chaos tomatoes.
Just growing about everywhere as they would naturally do, right?
Yeah, they're sprawling everywhere. But, we'll see. It's all an experiment, and I'll get something out of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely. Well, we definitely look forward to seeing what you've got growing on there over at Hippie Chick Homestead. And for everybody else joining us here today, all of you awesome gardeners, go over and check out Angela over at Hippie Chick Homestead. And like I said at the beginning of the show, go and drop in a comment on a video or a post or something and let her know that you saw her here on the Let's Get Growing show. And again, thank you, Angela, for taking your time to be with us here today. It was really awesome to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I've really had a great time.
Excellent. Yes, definitely. And hopefully we'll get to see you back again in no time.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Excellent. You got it. We'll be right back, everybody. One more moment. Hey gardeners, thanks for tuning in to our show today. We'll be right back at it here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a second here to highlight our regular videos and features here on the Urban Gardener channel. Our weekly garden journals, and our incredible featured visits.
Do you know what a specialist pollinator is? The correct answer is B, a creature that's adapted to only pollinate a few types of plants. Specialist pollinators are creatures, often insects, that have evolved alongside a particular plant species or group of plants. And without these plants, they simply won't survive. This relationship exists between native pollinators and native plants. The pollinators that existed long before we did need the plants that they grew up with and have evolved to rely on. Sometimes this specialization is due to a physical adaptation. The plant and the pollinator are literally fit for one another, like a lock and key. Sometimes it's due to timing, when the pollinator is active and when the flower is in bloom. An example of this is with the spring beauty mining bee. This is the only bee that will pollinate the spring beauty wildflower. And of course, we're all familiar with the relationship between the monarch caterpillar and the milkweed plant. Without the monarch host plant, the milkweed, there's nowhere for the monarch butterfly to host its young and to grow up to be more monarchs. So this is your friendly reminder that if you don't have native plants growing in your garden yet, now is your time to do so. You can plant just one, start with just one, and maybe an extra one of milkweed for those monarch caterpillars too. And that's your garden trivia for today. Thanks so much for playing. Enjoy the rest of the show and be sure to pop by and say hi at the Suburban Gardenista on YouTube and Instagram. And there'll be a link for you down in the description below. Thanks again and happy gardening.
All right, all right. Did you get the answer to Brandy's trivia question correct? All right, great, great. Thank you again, Brandy, for your garden trivia this week. And again, like she said, go and check her out at the Suburban Gardenista. Links right down below in the description. Also, usually kind of wait till the end of the show to kind of forward promote, but we've got a really, really amazing weekend coming up this next weekend on the show. So you definitely want to come and like I said, make sure you're hitting that notification so you can be notified and all of that sort of stuff. And be sure to come and join with us this next weekend on the show. This next Saturday, we've got Brian Lowell from Next Level Gardening joining us, right along with, yes, he's in the chat right now, our good friend Chad from Down Home Backyard Gardening. We're going to have him along with us as well, too. He's going to stick around and hang out as kind of a special co-host as well during our conversation with Brian next Saturday. So definitely come and join with us next Saturday for the show. Going to be a great conversation. And then again, we're back again on the Sunday edition of the Let's Get Growing show. And this next Sunday is the monthly gardening book club. Yes, our good friend Mr. MBC joins with us live for In the Garden and a co-host of our monthly gardening book club. And this month we are featuring Mark Valencia from Self-Sufficient Me will be joining us to talk all about his very first book, 100 Top Crops You Can Grow. So that's right. We've got a couple of really great, amazing guests coming up this next weekend on the show. So you won't want to miss out on the Let's Get Growing show coming up. So definitely, like I said, hit that bell notification. Make sure that you're here. I want to see you all this next weekend for sure. So, all right, everybody, it's time now for our featured guest.
You never know when you might learn something, and that's what this is about for me. These are people that I admire. Please welcome my next guest.
So, all right. Our featured guest this week is James Weston joining us. Farm Boy James. Great to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's great to be here. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Really awesome to finally get you here on the show. As I was mentioning before the show got started, it's been a little while, but we finally got to get you here, talk all about chaos gardening, maybe some beekeeping, and of course, I want to dig right into this community composting that you do there in your local community as well. But again, thanks for being here. And let's jump right in first, as we all want to know and learn a little bit more about how did you get involved with gardening and growing? Is this, like we were asking Angela earlier, is this something that has been a part of your life throughout your life or something you discovered later on?
Good question. Yeah, I'm here in St. Augustine, Florida, and this is actually where I'm from. Angela had a great segment that was great to listen to. I love her gardening story and the hippie chick. That's pretty fun. But yeah, I got into gardening at a young age. It's kind of a family farm situation, just more of just for canning. We would grow our own food to can it. I didn't always love it at the time, but I remember those memories now are some of my best memories of just, picking beans or shucking corn. So we had some good times. We didn't do that much chaos gardening back then, but I've kind of implemented that myself.
Yeah. I like that though too. And I hear that kind of often though, when folks, I'm interviewing, talk about growing up around a garden, or on a farm or that sort of thing, is that, it wasn't that much fun. As a kid, it's taking up your time from other things that you want to be doing, or at some points it's just work because certain things got to be done and someone's got to do the work, right?
Yeah, I feel like maybe that's part of where my Farm Boy James, persona comes from. I try to have fun and help people have fun in the garden because it can be a lot of work. It is a lot of work, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And so I try to have fun in the first place, even if things don't go perfectly. You already had a good time, so it makes it a little bit less overwhelming. But I enjoy it. I got back into it about 7 years ago. My sister and I both moved back into town, into our hometown, St. Augustine. And we kind of got back around on the farm and we're like, let's see if we could run a little business out of this. And that's where we came up with the community compost program, which we could get into in a bit. But we also, we tried to sell vegetables, and it's hard. It's hard to make a living from it. But we found out, just having fun with it, it really kind of changed both of our lives in a lot of different unexpected ways.
When you guys decided or were thinking about doing that, were you going to try to specialize and just grow certain things, or was it kind of like maybe a market garden where you're just kind of growing all sorts of different stuff and seeing what people buy?
We tried a couple different things. One thing that we did pretty often was just baskets, farm baskets people could buy. We found, not giving them any options and just here's a basket with what we got growing. You know, you don't even get any choices, because if we could get some tomatoes and cucumbers growing, whatever we can grow, we're going to give it to you for $25. You know, we wanted, you know, instead of trying to go to farmers markets, we tried that too, but selling one tomato at a time here and there, and, you know, having to pay to be at the farmers market, all these extra costs. So we would do the farm baskets, we would do tours. One thing I did a lot of was building raised beds for people and kind of helping them with their gardening. And then, and what we found was the best in the long run was the community compost program, because all of our members get first access to the produce that we grow and the honey and the eggs. So we already have, you know, people that want what we have, and we go to their house regularly anyways. So we kind of use them as our, you know, they kind of support us in 2 ways.
Yeah, that's great. You get as much out of it as you can, right?
Definitely.
Right on. Yeah. And again, too, you're mentioning about having fun and everything. I think that was one of the things that really is like when I first like discovered some of your reels and some of the things you were doing. And in fact, I think the very first one I saw was a reel you did. I think you were like next to a beehive, and you were like, bees say this, whatever, this greatest things. And you bring this pool noodle over there, and it's this bumping. Like, I was like, oh, this is fun. This is great. I got to check this guy out.
Yeah, I love the bees. Yeah, I'm always, you know, I found making content about the garden, about the bees and the chickens, and just making some funny videos about it. It kind of, it also just added to the fun. And, you know, and I ended up meeting so many great people. On social media can be, you know, a weird place, but you can meet some really great people. And I find that to be, you know, what it's all been about, just making funny videos. If I can make somebody laugh, you know, and then maybe if I can help them get into gardening and take some of the stress out, that's kind of my goals with it.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of think that's, you know, a really great point to the idea of just the chaos gardening in general, right? Is that it's just kind of like, hey, just throw some things about, let's see what grows, let's have some fun with this versus, you know, again, kind of what we were talking about a little bit earlier is this, you know, just being so purposeful or you know, and really kind of, you know, it can be tough for first time gardeners too, you know, to kind of just go through some of the ups and downs of growing and all of that. And if you're just throwing things about and having some fun with it, then you know, at least get a good start, you know, on that level.
Yeah, you can get a few experience points by just throwing some beans around. You know, I find like black-eyed peas. I mentioned them in Florida. It's so hot right now. There's not a lot growing on. So we got okra, you know, but I do black-eyed peas over the summer, and people kind of, you know, see one video and don't understand the full concept. Like, it's not just to grow to eat. You can use it as a cover crop to help the soil, and it's going to be great, you know, a natural green organic matter that you could chop and drop into the soil. And so it has a purpose, and it's also, they're cheap and it's fun, and it doesn't take any effort. So, you know, you don't want to be out here, you know, for 7 hours a day trying to grow something in the middle of summer in Florida when it's just not going to work. You know, you could set up shade cloth and do that kind of thing, but I like to just treat the soil in the summertime here in Florida. So I do black-eyed peas and black beans and lentils throughout different parts of the summer to help the soil get some more nitrogen. And it's you know, also I harvest some of the beans and eat them, you know, green, you know, or just pick them. And it's not something that has to be super successful to be a success. Even if you just grow a handful of beans, then you're able to use that to protect the soil and improve your soil quality.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great idea, you know, in more of a kind of a cover crop type of scenario, right?
Definitely, yeah. And I think what I'm really trying to reach is people who were too scared to garden in the first place. And I think that's where a lot of people get, you know, they think I'm trying to teach them that this is the way to garden. It's like, what I want people to do is whatever they want to do. And so if they have been too scared to start a garden, but they can grab a bag of beans for $1 and just throw some on the ground, maybe it works out. And then the next thing you know, they got a whole garden by the end of next year that they started growing, and like a little more organized, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Just give them that experience of growing something, right? And then again, to this idea of, and let's also mention too, you showed that bag of beans that you've got there. These are just right off the store shelf, right?
Yeah, $1. I go to the clearance section, and you know, you can find them for 50 cents. The lentils usually. And then, you know, you could even cook half of them if you want to eat some of them, and then just throw, you know, one little piece of this is a lot of beans.
Yeah. Just grab a nice chunk and handful and give it a toss, right?
Yeah. I have fun with it. But yeah, so it's not for everybody. My friends, you know, they're the same. They're like, I could never do it. But I think they're missing the part where, yeah, I had everything planted in perfect rows, and then a deer came and ate everything. So I grabbed a bag of beans, and now I got beans growing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Let's see here. I had a question here, I guess coming back to the CSA, I suppose it kind of was that you were talking about there. How much ballpark would you charge for a basket like that, and roughly how many pounds of produce would you put in it?
All right, good question. Yeah, I found that basically selling anything for less than $25 was just not adding up to enough time and effort. You got to organize pickups and things. So $25 was our base rate, and that would come with, we'd have eggs and honey, which you're already, that's like $15 value. So then we'd do about 5 or 6 different kind of vegetables, a couple of onions, maybe a few potatoes. If we got some collard greens, we usually have things like mustards. Certain things are easier to grow, but they're not always the most popular. But if we got, like right now, okra, you get a bag of okra, you get a couple eggplants, you get some onions. Certain things like onions, you could store them and you could add those to baskets over a longer time. So it's just like, for me, the variety and the fact that it was fresh picked, people weren't so worried about, I need 7 tomatoes and 3 cucumbers. It's just you just get it, and it's like a mystery box almost. So 5 or 6 different kinds of things is ideal. And then if I don't have honey, then maybe I'll give them extra vegetables. Or if the chickens aren't laying eggs this week, we'll give them, sometimes we got berries, like banana trees, something random. So we fill it up. Poundage, I'm not sure, but we make it look like $25 value. And it's a good way to get rid of things that, even though like you probably couldn't sell the mustard greens, but you could put them in a basket, and now they're going to have to take them and learn how to eat them.
Yeah, definitely. And so again, it's sort of like a CSA, community supported agriculture kind of situation. So are people signing up for boxes, and do you give them to them intermittently, or is this something somebody just comes, hey, I want a box, and they give you $25?
There's a couple ways. In season, I do a lot of social media stuff, so I'll make a post about it, and usually it goes first to our compost members. Like, hey, we got these garden baskets available. If you want one, it's $25. I'll drop it off next time I swap your bucket, and that way we can have it all planned ahead of time. We don't tend to have a whole lot of extra stuff, but if we do, it'll usually be a Facebook post, and I'll be like, hey, come by Saturday between 10 and 2 and grab your basket. But usually we have to communicate that before, because we don't have, like I said, we're not selling a huge amount.
Yeah. Awesome. Excellent. All right, everybody out there, if you want to jump in, definitely jump in with any questions you might have for James here. Love to hear some questions from all of y'all. But we're talking also too, you mentioned honey, one of the things I really like, and I don't know, maybe someday, but I love the idea of beekeeping. So let's talk a little bit about beekeeping. When did you get started doing that? And is this something you're still doing, or?
I love the bees. I still have it. We got a couple hives. Yeah, we got a couple hives right now. We originally got a beehive. My dad wanted to get a beehive to help the garden, to pollinate the garden. And so you could buy a nuke of bees for like $150, $180, and then you're gonna need $300-400 worth of equipment. So it's a process to get started. But you get them set up, and we just wanted them to have a space to live where they could do their own thing. But it turns out when it comes to beekeeping, that's more of a hobby style, which is fine, but there's a lot involved. So you really want to start attending beekeeper classes is what I would recommend. I started going to the local ag center, and they have a beekeeping kind of group where they have a monthly meeting, and they just talk about beekeeping, and they go over it, and you can work a beehive out there with them. Once you work a few beehives with somebody, that's going to really then you're going to know if you want to do it or not. Like, until you really get in there, like wearing the suit, it can be hot during the summer, and you got to get in there and check them and make sure the queen is doing okay and laying still and not trying to leave. You run into bees swarming and leaving a lot. So it could be quite a process, or you could really, kind of do the hobby style and just have one hive, but then you end up with the problem where they leave or they get mites. So I would say definitely go to the beekeepers meeting. That's a great way to really meet local beekeepers and go work one of their hives, and then you'll learn a lot by doing that.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, probably the biggest advice I get from anybody who's doing some sort of beekeeping. And we do have a local Southern Oregon Beekeepers Association here, and I'm sure that there's an association, organization, or some sort of beekeeping group that's near all of you out there too. So get in and learn about the more finer points of beekeeping that we don't think about, if you want to get into it and everything. And the more I've learned, I'm like, I don't know, that does seem like quite a bit to kind of work with and everything. But I don't think there's anything probably more thrilling than I've done. And mind you, I come from a childhood where if a bee was near me, I was running like flailing arms and everything, that sort of thing. So I had a big, huge fear of bees growing up. But I'll tell you what, there's just nothing more exhilarating or thrilling than being in a bee suit, being nice and, safe from just all of these thousands of bees flying around you and all of that. And then, like you said, getting into the hives and checking on queens and finding the queen for one, and then seeing her rolling around and doing everything and all of that. So again, nothing more fascinating or cool than getting around a large community of bees.
Definitely. Yeah, they're amazing. Yeah, I had one video. So with bees, when they do swarm, sometimes you'll find them in the neighborhood just like on a tree, like a big clump of bees. And if you ever find that, if you've already been studying beekeeping, that's when you could get a free colony of bees. Essentially, you could capture a swarm, and you'll see that on Facebook a lot. So that's something like I don't recommend someone just go out and do that. But if they've already been studying, they're thinking about getting bees, that's a way they could save some money. And what I like about them, again, don't take this for everything, but they're not as aggressive at that point. So when they're in a swarm, you could go and you can really get up and close to them when you have your suit on still. And you can really get a good impression of them by that. But then once you have them in the beehive, there's some work. And like I said, you want to protect them from mites. You want to protect them from different predators. And sometimes you feed them in the winter, depending how much honey you harvest. So it's like in a way it's like a livestock animal, which is weird because people think about them as being wild bees, but really they're something that needs to be cared for because they're a little different than just our native bees, which are also extremely important.
And again too, that's kind of my that's kind of the balance of trying, like, I'd love to have a beehive around here or something, but I also want to be creating an environment that's encouraging to a lot of our native bees and everything around here as well too. So it's always cool to see those different variety of bees flying around in your garden, without being pushed out by some of those other, again, like you said, I like the way you put it though too, is like more of a livestock that you would have, but you can't beat getting your own honey though, right?
Yeah, I think it's all a balance. Everything you do in gardening and nature, everything you do is you got to find the balance that works for you. And I do recommend beekeeping. It's pretty fun. It can be a very healing, kind of hobby. The honey is great.
The honey is it's a great byproduct, right? To the whole experience. But again too though, I mean, you were talking about the aggressiveness of them and everything. Like I said, I see a lot of beekeepers, and I think maybe it's a part of what they do for their content and that sort of stuff. But they're around there inside of them without any bee suits on or anything like that, and I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. I just don't know about that. That doesn't look like fun at all.
One sting can annoy me for a couple of days. I'm not, some people don't have much reaction. Some people are allergic, and it's terrible. But I get stung, and it's something I notice, so I try to avoid it. But what you do learn is you can kind of tell their energy. It's quite fascinating. But again, that's not me giving advice to anyone. It's just I've done multiple swarm captures with no suit on because I could tell that they were not. You kind of gotta. I mean, that's hard to explain, but you could tell what they're feeling, and you can.
They're on a different survival instinct level, right? Than what they're doing when they're in their hive, working and producing this food. So they got a lot more of a need to protect that versus where do I go? What's going on? That sort of thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Right on. Okay, well. One of the big things that I was wanting to get you on to talk about, and I really want to dig into this real deep here, is one of my, I went down to Los Angeles a few years back and did a visit with an organization called LA Compost. They were featured on this documentary talking about community composting, and being a person who grows with, just right outside my downtown in the city I live in, this is real urban gardening that we're doing growing around here, so the idea of having like a big setup compost system where I'm at, isn't really feasible, and it really isn't feasible for a lot of people around me, but people want to be a part of the growing system like that and composting. And I found it so fascinating going down to Los Angeles there and seeing this organization put together and what they did. I went to one of their meetups where people from all over this part of the city, and in fact there were people who were drove across the city to come to this meetup and everything. And they've got little buckets and little bags and little things of their food waste that they're just dropping into this larger barrel that they were, getting all the different compost ingredients, their food scraps in. And to me, it was like the coolest thing, all these people coming around from everywhere to gather together to create what in the long run is this, new soil that the LA compost was, breaking down and developing, and then, sending out to new gardeners and other gardens, going back into their different garden spaces and all of that. And so, that just started this big, huge fascination with the idea of community composting. So I said I found you, through this bee thing, the fun and all that sort of stuff. But what I found was really fascinating. What really, stuck me with the content you were doing, and it's this idea of your community compost program. Now, tell us a little bit about how did that idea come about when you were thinking about starting that up in your own community?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. There's a great program in LA, and it is funny to think about people just everyone bringing their trash together, and then it ends up being something to grow new food from. That concept alone is pretty fascinating. But when I got started, it's been about 7 years. My sister and I have been running the program, the Epic Compost program, about 7 years now. We got started at a farmer's market because I kind of had this idea, like, why do we have trash and recycling, and then why isn't there a third thing? And I got looking into it, and I heard a lot of cities actually have it part of their city. They have a food waste, as part of their bin, but we just didn't have that here where I'm at. So I was like, well, let me see if anyone's interested in this. And what you find is a lot of people are quite aware of the problems and the issue, and they want to be a part of it. And so I kind of made it known that I was going to start doing it at the farmer's market. And I had a friend who was kind of helpful with helping pass buckets around to stands to start collecting it. And it just kind of spread by word of mouth. People would reach out, hey, we want to compost our food waste instead of throwing it away and wasting it. So we kind of started, in that way at a farmer's market, just people with like-minded ideas. We got a bunch of buckets. At that time, we got like 20 buckets for free. So we started with that, and we just gave buckets out, put a label on there that said what you could put in there. Your food waste and your coffee grounds, eggshells. And then we had a list of what not to put in there. And we went ahead and just started working we would have restaurants kind of call us. It would usually be restaurants that were already sourcing their food locally, and they were, trying to be green, trying to do the right thing. And so they would reach out, and we would compost for them, some different produce markets. And we started working with the households. They could sign up as well. We could either pick up from their house every other week, or they could bring it out to the farm and just drop it off. So we had a flexible kind of situation with that. And the members, like I said, they get access to the produce and the honey, so they get some other benefits, and we give them back compost in the end. So it's a great program. We've really loved it. It could be a lot of work at times, just emptying, buckets full of food waste in the hot summer or in the cold, but I find it to be very rewarding. It's kind of the heart of everything we do here on the farm. It lets us grow it.
Yeah, well, because ultimately, really the heart or soul of our garden is the soil, right? And bringing back those things that we grow and breaking them down and bringing them back to the soil, it just kind of completes that circle, right? And it's kind of really kind of cool to be a part of that.
Definitely.
Especially in such a way like that, where you're doing it on a larger scale.
Yeah, it's nice to also kind of get to know your community. I've helped about 30 or so people start their own compost program, and it doesn't have to be anything huge. It could just be your little neighborhood of 5 houses, and you all team up instead of having composting on a small scale can be a little tricky. So if you could get a group of people together, it's actually going to make it easier to compost, and then you could expand if you want to, or just help everybody. You find that you meet a lot of great people when you run a community compost program.
Yeah. Well, again, yeah, people who are, involved in the kind of the important sort of, like you're saying, folks who want to be green, want to be involved with what we're doing to take care of, our spaces and places a lot better, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and they're all over the country. They're all over the world, even. So yeah, make sure you check your local community. Just see if you got a compost program, or you can start your own.
yeah, nice little neighborhood one for you and a few gardeners around your neighborhood, so that you can, especially for folks who, again, my limitation is space when it comes to a lot of that. So maybe you're a person who's
Yeah.
got a good yard space or a good place where a system like that could be set up.
Definitely. Yeah, that is one of the issues for a lot of people. They can't compost themselves because of limited space, and a lot of people, yeah, to do a program, you might need a little bit more space. But
Mhm.
there are, people use tumblers. We do all ours just straight on the ground, and what we find
Mhm.
works best for us is working with tree services. So we get their wood chips. The
Yeah.
wood chips are the carbon that you need, and that way we get free wood chips, free carbon. It helps the tree service and it helps us, because once you get to a certain volume, finding enough carbon can be difficult as well. So tree services are great to work with, and it's a nice little program. But
Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about what goes into these buckets. You said you put a label on there and everything. So what are the sort of things that you're wanting people to contribute to the program versus things that you don't want them to be contributing to the program, as far as the food waste and food scraps that you're getting? Oh, did we get a freeze there?
I believe you're
Oh.
asking about. Hey, you still there?
Okay, there we go. All right. Nice.
Might be my
That's
fault.
all right.
Sorry.
This is what happens. It's live streaming. It's the way it goes when it comes down to
Yeah.
it. But I was just asking about, again, what are we putting into the buckets? What are you
Okay.
asking from these members of your compost program to add to their food scrap buckets versus what you don't want them to be adding
All
into
right.
the food scraps?
Yeah, we have mostly ask for vegetable scraps. Coffee grounds, eggshells. We do paper towels. Things, anything that was like alive at one point and now is not alive. But at the
Yeah.
same time, like flowers that you had. But we don't do meat or bones or like fish.
Yeah.
And we ask them not to put bread and pasta in there. Even though in theory it'd be fine. But the idea is, one of the issues you run into is animals kind of digging through the compost, and if you put
Mhm.
meat and that's going to take longer. It's a whole other process, different bacteria. So we don't do meat. Some places do allow meat, so that's something you got to check out, and it can be done. And then you have fish, yeah, things that smell. Bread is something that attracts rats, so we try not to put the bread in there. But if you put bread in there, we don't really care. It's going to be fine. Like, we basically have recommendations, and honestly, we work with restaurants that are busy. They don't want to be taking extra time to take the rubber band off. I mean, I get
Right.
it, but sometimes they do. But sometimes we're asking a lot. So we don't get too stressed about it. Sometimes when we dump the buckets, we see the twisty ties are on there, and we try to pop those off. So
Yeah.
we do get it. It's an issue with most programs is where you run into some trash, I guess, some trash in your trash that you don't want. But
Right, trash in your trash.
so basically, we just we don't make a big deal about it. But if there's somebody who's just putting a bunch of stuff, you can kind of notice eventually who's doing something wrong on certain days. You find their bucket in there, and we let them know. But usually, what we do is we keep open communication where people will message us, "Hey, can we put this in there? Can we put a
Yeah.
disposable, a compostable toothbrush in there or something?" Like,
Right.
it's interesting how many questions we get, and then we just kind of make sure that they know that they can communicate with us, and then we tell them yes or no.
Yeah. That's the best way to do it. So, again, what about like people who would be thinking about limitations? Like, for one, you're mentioning we're talking about things that you don't want to put in there, and a lot of that too, like you said, will attract rodents, other types of animal pests that'll probably be digging through your compost pile and all that sort of stuff. So, and what are some other challenges to having a compost system like this?
Yeah,
On a big,
definitely.
like I said, you're piling big piles together too of lots of stuff.
Right. Yeah. Our piles are just on the ground. We do wind rows, basically long rows. And what happens is we empty 50 or 60 buckets and then cover it with twice as much wood chips. Number one, the wood chips are going to help suppress a lot of the smell. But number two, we're a little lucky to have the space over there in the compost area where some wild turkeys will come peck through it. You know, maybe a raccoon or some squirrels. Like they're gonna have access to it in a way. It's not that big of a deal for us. But what you don't want is stuff spread all across your yard and things like that. And so they are pretty smart. The animals, they don't do anything. We're not giving them access to anything hazardous, but they are animals. They do what animals do. But what you could do if you were on a smaller scale is use one of the tumblers that contains it, or just put a piece of fencing is what I've seen multiple people use. If you put a piece of fencing kind of over the pile, it's not going to affect the airflow, and it would still allow, it would keep the animals from digging through it essentially.
Yeah. So it's again one of the challenges there too, again, as you're mentioning about smell, right? One of the things I've always, people are always telling me, if you're doing compost right, it's not, you're not going to be dealing with too much of a smell when it comes down to it. But what about, again, on a bigger system like this? Like you said, you got big long windrows of different compost piles and stuff, of all sorts of stuff.
The only time that it really smells is like when you get the fresh bucket. Some of these buckets have been, people have been putting stuff into it for 2 weeks. And so at that point, it's not in the best shape. Usually you got to keep the lid on it, and usually it's fine. It's not too big a deal. But sometimes, if somebody puts you put the wrong thing in there, or you put something in there and it goes off, something rotten. And that's the smell. So when you're emptying the buckets, it's a bit of a rotting food smell at times. Obviously, but once you cover it with wood chips, by the next day, in my opinion, as long as you can't see any of the food waste and the wood chips are on top of it, you could walk past it and you wouldn't smell it, in my opinion. But if you reach your hand in there, there's a lot going on. But you could cover it pretty well with the more wood chips, the better is what I say, because they're a great source of nitrogen and carbon. But they're more carbon, but they're going to compost on their own. Some people just make compost out of nothing but wood chips. So we just use it to mask the smell. So the more that you could get, usually a lot of people's problems with composting is they're not putting enough carbon, in my opinion.
Yeah. So again, that would be your solution, is just adding more carbon to it. But yeah, that's the big thing of it. Everybody's always saying if you've got the the ratios right of your carbon to food waste and that sort of stuff, then you shouldn't be having any problems with smells.
Yeah, I would say when it comes to composting, I like to use a 5-fingered approach. You got your nitrogen, your carbon, oxygen, water, and punching.
Punching.
Well, I was just kidding. I don't know. I made that up. But it's basically a simple thing, but it can also be super complicated. Just like chaos gardening could be simple, but gardening could take you 30 years to become a master, But just like composting, you could just start and work as you go. Yeah, you don't want to have bears coming in your yard. I feel like people are like, they ask me like, how do I keep the bears out? I'm like, well, now I can't help you. You've lost me now. I can't. That's a tough one, So everyone's got different situations.
Right. Yeah. You would just imagine having the bear hanging out, wallowing around inside of one of your compost piles.
You want to avoid that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I wouldn't know what to do at that point other than just sit back and be like, hey, have your fun. Let's move along,
Yeah. I mean, then they'll probably go for the beehive next. I mean, that could be bad. I mean, I'm in Florida. We got bears, but we've just been lucky, I guess. Some people got to deal with things. Now, what we do have is deer, and deer are just going to eat up the garden. You ever deal with that?
Oh, no. And seeing that's one of my thing I'm always talking about is I feel for all of my garden friends who got to deal with the animal pests, the deer, the rodents, and all of those sort of things. Because where I'm at kind of, in such an urban space like mine, I don't get too many of the animal problems, animal pests. Mine are just all, bugs.
Yeah.
Different types of bugs that are eating and doing things up. So I feel for people who have to deal with deer or, again, the bigger animals, raccoons and stuff like that, that'll get in and just wreak havoc on your garden spaces. And deer will eat almost anything and tear everything up, and they're just too hard to get rid of.
Yeah, the deer work fast too. And then if they find something, they'll come back the next night and finish it off. But we have something in the works. My dad kind of helped invent this sprinkler light radio. It's like a motion sensor device at night. It sets off all these, things, and it's worked really well for us. So I'm working with somebody to get that produced on a scale, and I'm going to help people because it's the only thing we found to keep the deer out, and it could work for other things. The chickens get in there, anything it senses motion, it's going to skip them off. So it's a pretty fun, it's something that might help a little.
Yeah, just kind of a perimeter motion sensor that just sets it off, and that's a good idea.
That's about all we've found. I mean, we had a dog. We got my dog. Someone in the comments, by the way, thank you. They mentioned my dog Callie. She's the farm dog, and she basically runs the whole operation. So, but sometimes she lets the deer in there, and the squirrels. But she does a great job of just kind of making sure that nature knows this is Callie's place.
That's right. And for me, I talk about I've got a cat. We got a cat guy, and I got my cat George. He's all around, and he keeps for us being in an urban area too. He keeps a lot of the other stray cats away from hanging out, utilizing all my garden beds and stuff. Which still can be a problem every now and then. They still get in and find a way to get in there and do that stuff. But having a good dog or a cat around your garden's a good thing.
Yeah. How about squirrels? Do you deal with a lot of squirrels in your tomatoes and stuff?
Yeah, luckily not. I mean, again, it must come down to having the cat, right? They just, I don't think squirrels want to take that risk or that sort of thing. And he's out there all the time. I mean, that's his home base is just right around the whole garden area we've got and all of that too. So luckily, like I said, I haven't had to deal with them, but you never know. There might be some brave enough squirrel to come in and start messing with everything.
Yeah, ours got so smart that they just, they just would eat everything. It was like everything we grew was for squirrels. So we ended up building a giant cage around one of the raised beds to make the tomatoes, and that's worked out really well. But
and again,
they love everything.
To have to go through all of that work as well too. I visited a place many years ago that was really out kind of in the country and really out there in the woods kind of place, and they had to have and they had a big space. It was like a huge large kind of greenhouse that was all kind of covered like with kind of like almost like a shade cloth type of thing, but it had to be enclosed because they had too many problems with everything that there was just no way they could grow anything without having it enclosed like that. And that's a lot of work to have to do for a garden, right?
Definitely. And that brings up a point about the chaos gardening. A lot of people assume that like all I do is chaos garden, but I also do all the other things. I have organized rows. I spend a lot of time starting tomatoes and peppers from seed and indoors, and like I organize everything, and I have 6 different kinds of squash growing, and then if it's not a hurricane or a deer or a squirrel or some bugs or a disease, something comes along, and that's when I'm just like, okay, and I'm going to throw some beans. I know these beans are going to work. I'm going to do some birdseed sunflowers because I don't want to spend another 3 weeks on something and it all disappears again. So you just got to find the balance. Otherwise you end up getting overwhelmed, and it just it takes the fun out of it. And I think that's pretty important, especially if you're trying to make it into somewhat of a business. You can only rely on certain things. That's why the compost program is just like the heart of it. We help people with their gardens and the compost. We have compost that people can use. But we can't promise that we're going to have tomatoes. We can't promise that the cucumbers aren't going to get all eaten up sometime. So it's kind of tricky.
It's just the risk of trying to grow and get those type of production out of your garden, is these things that want that stuff more than you do.
Yeah, and I love it though. Like I still love it. I think that was like the hard part. Like seeing everything ruined and still like coming back the next season and trying again, and I can see that as like part of the chaos gardening as well. Like even if the chaos gardening doesn't work out, you need to get those reps in of failures. Like you got to get some failures in, and then keep going. Like you just, because things are gonna like not work out in the garden. That's just how it is.
It's like we like to call our failures learning opportunities.
Exactly.
Something that again we can come back to. And I was mentioning with Angela earlier too about growing things and not doing well or things that I just have the hardest time growing and all of that. And I always tell myself I'm not going to grow that this next year. But there I am, right back at it, doing it again, facing that challenge one more time.
Yep. I had one. Loofahs were one that I struggled with, but I finally having success with the loofah. Like I like the first couple of years, they just didn't work. And then I finally was able to get like 2 or 3, and now I can get every summer or every fall I'll have 20 or so, and it's
Yeah.
a fun challenge. But then some years you just have a bad season. Like we didn't get any cucumbers this year. Like flowers, beautiful plants, and they just didn't pollinate, or they had something went wrong. But there's always something that kind of changes too, which is what's weird. So I like to keep trying it, because you might just have the good luck one season and it might just go perfectly.
Oh yeah, and there's several things that present a challenge to me that I've had issues with in the past. But like you said, I keep trying the next season, and then I might have a really great season, and then I
Yeah.
might go right back to having that same problem I had before or whatever. But I'm right back
Yeah.
at it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And like David says here, and I know his, I was going to say his ears peaked up when you mentioned loofah for sure. But he says the correct word is failure-tunities. There you go.
Yeah, I love
Smash
it. I love
those
it.
things together for sure. But
and it's also really rewarding when things go right. Like that's what makes it worth it too. You get you a fresh meal, which you grew it yourself. You started from a seed. There's something fascinating about eating it. Like even if my friend doesn't even like tomatoes, and she just grows tomatoes all the time because it's so cool to once you grow it yourself, it's just different. Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, and there's things in my garden that I love to grow that I just don't eat, but
Yeah.
I have friends that like them.
Right.
I've got people who do, but I love the plants. One of my favorite plants I grow in my garden almost every year, and try different varieties of them so I can check out the different ways the plants grow and stuff, are eggplant.
Nice.
And there's a couple of things I like with eggplant that's not too bad, but it's not in general something I really care for. But I
Yeah.
love the plants.
Right.
The flowers are amazing. The plants are really cool, the way they grow, and just the fruit. It's just, you got so many different types and
Yeah.
varieties of shapes and colors and
Little chicken
sizes
egg.
and things.
You see the
Yeah.
chicken egg one? Yeah, that was pretty cool looking. I like that one.
Yep. And the last season I grew this one that was like this, like it almost looked like a persimmon in a way.
Oh.
But it was like this little orange one, kind of almost
Cool.
flat, kind of like a persimmon would be in a way.
I love it.
Yeah. So again, too, like the peppers and stuff, I grow
Yeah.
all sorts of different varieties of peppers because I just love I love the plants, their growing characteristics, and then all of these cool different shapes, sizes, colors, heat levels when it
Yeah.
comes to peppers and all that sort of stuff too. So there's just things that are just fun to grow.
Definitely. Have you heard of the daddle pepper?
Datil or what? Yeah, I have. I
might
don't know
say
if I've grown one.
Datil. Don't let them
Whatever.
tell you date till.
Don't tell them that's not it.
Daddle peppers are a St. Augustine original,
Oh,
which is what I think is super fascinating about it. Like they started here. They were brought here, of course, but
Right.
they are known from St. Augustine. So we have different hot sauces all around the city with
Yeah.
daddle peppers, and I love growing them. But they're really hot, but they grow prolific, a huge number per plant, and they make
Yeah.
a great hot sauce.
yeah. You ever make your own hot sauces?
I do. I got a little chaos sauce that I'm working
Chaos sauce.
on. Yeah,
Is
that's
that
going to be the hot sauce with some daddle.
you say you're working on it, so it's not something you've put out or tried to sell before or anything?
Right. I make it for myself, and I haven't figured out how to share it yet. But some of the compost members have loved it. But
Yeah.
I'm working on a little bit of trying to get it out. Maybe I could sell some more of it or something.
Yeah,
It's pretty good.
yeah. Especially if you can grow the plants really well because they grow from your area there, and they're so prolific. And I'm sure you get a ton of them then. So
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
and you can
Yeah,
make it shelf stable, or you can prepare it, because I like to make, my favorite thing in the garden is like fresh salsa or pico de gallo with tomatoes, peppers, but I can't really distribute that very well. I guess you could can it in theory, but I like the hot sauce idea, and it's really good, and it's got the St. Augustine kind of vibe with the daddle pepper. So yeah, that's the long-term goal I'm working on.
Right on. That's really great. I did want to get back and ask you again too a little bit on the composting program and everything. How about, so you say you're doing these big, large windrows and all that sort of stuff. What would you say your output on soil is? And how long does it take really, with these wood chips and the combination with the food scraps and everything, for you to get them to break down to soil that, or compost that you can start distributing to folks?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, that took a little time to kind of get our rhythm. Well,
Yeah.
basically we have about 4 piles at any given time, one pile will be our active pile that we're building, and we kind of fill it for about every month. We flip it with the tractor, which we're lucky to have a front end loader now. We used to do it all by pitchfork, but we flip it now about at least once a month, and it takes 3 months for that pile to be finished, and then we flip it all again and kind of start a new pile. That one sits for another 3 months. Basically, by 6 months is usually when it's starting to be ready. But there's different uses as well. Like when it's still kind of breaking down, but it has some good soil, we can put it in a place where we can let it sit and break down a little longer before we use it. But if we're going to bag it, we usually wait, another couple months until we can sift it, and then we would bag it up for our members at about around 7 to 8 months typically.
Yeah, and again too, the members are they paying into as well in order for the final product?
Yeah, the restaurants and the markets, they pay a monthly fee that basically comes to about $5 a bucket for the month.
Yeah.
And so we end up getting, like $50 from a restaurant or so. It kind of covers the gas and the cost of the buckets. A lot of places charge more, and we could be trying to make it into a business, but right now we kind of just have a nice thing we want to maintain until we come up with a plan. We were looking at like a nonprofit situation where we could get a grant, which a lot of the programs go that way. But we're kind of happy with it. The members get other benefits from it as well. Like I said, they get the compost, or if they're a restaurant, we donate the compost to like a community garden or a school garden. We have a couple schools that we work with their gardens, so those restaurants are able to say that they donated to these.
So they're kind of like a sponsor in a way.
Yeah. And I definitely try to, mention them on social media, because what I believe is like I go to places to support that are trying to do the right thing. And so I try to share the people that are doing the right thing with their food waste, and people will go support those businesses, that kind of thing, where the fee is the hard part for me. I don't like doing business. I like just, I just want to have enough money to survive and do the things I like to do. But I have to have money to do all that. So we do charge a little bit. It's pretty minimal. The members, like the households, are like $10 a month for membership. Some of them are like, and what I love is like people love it and they're like, oh, I want to give you more, like they want to support the program, so they'll kind of pay more just to be part of something. Yeah. And we do offer kind of upgraded levels. We bring them we bring them eggs every week or something like that. Like we bring them honey, just as like gifts.
Yeah. So. I love that too. And again, too, I'm the same kind of attitude about things. Here I am. I've got this show. We've got all this sort of stuff going on, and it's like the business end of it. I'm like, oh man, I know there's opportunities. I know there's ways that I could dig in and maybe try to get a little bit more here and all of that sort of stuff. But I love this. I love showing up here. I love hanging out. I love talking. I love doing all this sort of stuff. So I kind of like the system the way it is in a way too. But there are costs involved, and we got to look at certain things that we've got to do, at a certain level. But if I could just maintain where costs are taken care of, and I don't need much after that other than just the opportunity to be able to hang out with cool people each weekend, so I kind of feel the same way about that as well. But let's see, a question here. Angela was asking, how long is it good for if it's left in the bag? So you bag it up there too, so you got bagged compost. Do you have it, or do you know like about how long you would recommend folks to have it stored in there?
That's a good question. I feel that's fair. And it also kind of depends. With our bag, we don't want it to sit in there forever. Usually it's when people are ready to put it in their garden. We don't typically have it because, there's a couple of reasons for that. But in theory, it's not going to necessarily go bad. What happens with composting is that microbiology breaks down the food waste and releases plant-soluble nutrients. So those nutrients are still there, but they kind of like, just anything over time lessens a little bit, so it isn't like it's going bad. It's just, you're going to get the max value, I would say, by putting a top dressing on your garden bed as soon as possible, instead of leaving it in the bag and using it, every 6 months. I would say, try to use it up within 6 months to a year would be ideal. You don't want to really, once after that, you're wasting a lot of the value, I guess you would say.
Yeah, and I've had bags of things that I've had before that I've left out for over a year and get into them. And like, if you don't have them, like if they're not draining well, it's inside of a bag. So it's going to collect moisture. It's going to collect that sort of thing. So you can get anaerobic situations. I've had moldy ones where it's just, you know, that sort of thing. But then again, you know, just get it out, mix it up with some other stuff, let it break down a little bit more somewhere else and that sort of thing too. So maybe you can get away with longer than a year, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. We had a question just a little bit earlier ago. Let me see if I can find it. Where are we at? Oh, yeah. What is your most popular video you've made?
Oh, oh, I love the content creating, by the way, and I love your YouTube show with the interviews. These are great. I've been catching up on a few, and I love it here. So thanks for having me, by the way.
Absolutely, it's just wonderful to have you here.
Yeah, I love content creating. It's an interesting part of the whole thing. I like making people laugh, and so it's interesting to try to add humor to stuff that I'm also like trying to show gardening and, you know, beekeeping. But I think my most viewed video is one of my beekeeping videos on YouTube with like 15 million views of catching a swarm. That was a cool video that I kind of just happened to set the phone up, and it worked out perfectly to catch a swarm. And then, but I think the one you mentioned about the bee, like what do the bees say in the rain?
Yeah,
I guess I'm a bee.
It's so fun.
That's a good one. And then I think, I mean, the chaos gardening, I have 3 or 4 that have gone viral in different ways, and I kind of,
the one I think I see the most, if it ever pops up or anything, is the one where it's the your shadow of you dancing down the that's so funny.
Hilarious. That is a funny one. Yeah. See, like I started on TikTok, and like I didn't like to do trends, but if there was ever like a funny like kind of thing going on, I'm like, I'm not gonna move my hips on camera. Like it was something, but I was like, what if I did my shadow instead?
Yes.
And it actually ended up being pretty hilarious because I like
so funny.
Sped it up a little bit. I'm not actually that fast.
And then and the new trend right now, the one I just saw earlier today when I was checking some things out, is the Netflix documentary trend right now. And you did yours about your compost program.
Yeah,
right?
I did. I love, like I said, I love making content. Like, and what I find, I think everyone should post videos. It's hard, but it's like, it's so fun just for myself. Like I like to make stuff that I want to go back and watch, even though it might be terrible. Some people might think it's the worst, but I enjoy just kind of getting a laugh. In the Netflix one, I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to make this, but I said a couple of the little things and I just edited it in with the sound. When you put the sound on stuff, you'd be surprised what ends up working.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been kind of wondering. I'm like, should I try one of those? I don't know. We'll see. I haven't, for me, I'm not much on those, but my thing is I want to start getting into and figuring reels out and doing reels. I talked with John Kohler and Wendy last week kind of about this a little bit, is that, I've got a problem with vertical versus horizontal, or doing things, the idea of doing things twice, because I'd want the content for both, or all these sort of things. So it's hard for me to wrap my mind around to just making something specifically as a reel versus the other type of content.
I am right there with you. I'm kind of on the opposite, because the last 3 years, I was able for the last 2 years to be like a full-time content creator, and now things have changed in the industry, and so I'm actually going to more long form. So I'm turning horizontal to do some YouTube stuff. Yeah, and I'm excited to get into that. Even though for me this is harder. Like this is a lot harder for me to sit here in front of the camera for this long. It's probably the longest I've ever done ever.
I think so. I was like, I've been just looking around. I was like, is this guy done an interview anywhere? Where can I find him? This and that. And I'm like, no, it's.
Yeah, it's funny. I enjoy the edited, short form. Like when I got into it on TikTok, that was kind of the way to do it. But now, I do want to have something more value. I want to have a series on the compost program where anyone could go to it, and then once they watch the whole series, they'd be comfortable to start their whole program themselves. Like I don't always say that I'm not like the one trying to teach people stuff, but I do want to help people get started, and I can also recommend. I know some great people in the gardening community, as well, that I could kind of send them like here's where you're gonna really learn the details, but I can kind
Yeah.
of get you inspired maybe.
That's
I
what
don't know, I
this
can
is
give you
all
that
about,
mindset.
James. That's what this is all about. And I've tell people all the time, I am not your garden expert. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring them onto the show and we're going to talk with them and we're going to get the answers there. Right.
Yeah,
You know,
I
I've
love
got
what you're doing.
experience just like you've got experience, and we can share our experiences and what works for us and all that sort of stuff. But as far as being like an educator or someone with
Yeah.
all of this vast knowledge of certain things, I'm just, it's just not me. But I love
Yeah.
gardening so much. I love, again, too, all the folks who are communicators and content creators and all that sort of stuff that are part of this really vast community. I will say one thing before we finish up here too, is I really did enjoy for a while there, but I was afraid that you were moving away from like gardening and compost content and all that sort of stuff, because you started taking some trips this last year on all these cruise ships all over the place.
Yeah.
But it was so fun to follow along with you anyways, doing that
Yeah.
sort of stuff, even though it was a little bit different than what you were normally doing. So it's always
Yeah.
great to go along with people on the adventures they're taking on in their lives and stuff, especially when you got some opportunities like that, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I know that was a big change for me too. I just felt like sometimes in life you have a window of opportunity, and I wanted to take advantage of something that just felt like something I may never, I don't know whether it happens again or not, but like I had the opportunity to be able to kind of travel and make money at the same time. And like, that's I feel like that's the thing that holds people back from traveling. It's like you run out of money. And I did run out of money anyways due to other things, but I got to go do something. Like I got to go to 2 new continents. I got to see gardens across the world. Like I felt like it was amazing just for multiple reasons, mental and kind of, and it wasn't that I needed a break from the garden, the farm. It also helped in my family situation, long story, but it felt like I had the right time to go do something that I thought would be a memory forever. And it is. I still can't believe I got to go see so many amazing places and just have such a great time. So I'm back on the farm. I'm really excited for the fall garden, because the summer garden, like I said, mostly a little chaos garden, cover crop, eggplants and okra.
But your real growing season really gets going towards the fall, right?
I love the fall the most. I love to do mustards are my favorite plant. Not a lot of people love them, but I love growing mustards.
Yeah.
Over in Florida, I heard they're not that popular.
The original brassica.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like it. Yeah, because everything kind of stemmed from it. And then so we get the root vegetables over the winter. Our winter we get to grow all winter. So we get our broccolis and like some beautiful brassicas. I enjoy, and it's cool outside. Yeah, we got a nice winter situation here. In the summer, it's almost like you're really struggling. You're fighting everything to grow anything at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Right on, man. I'm telling you again, I just I knew I was going to have such a fun time hanging out with you and chatting here and talking about all this sort of stuff. The time just flies right by, for sure. But again, too, just really cool stuff that you're doing over there. I'm really excited about seeing some of the other things that you got coming up. Are there any other projects or things that you're working on or thinking about as you're moving forward?
Well, yeah, like I said, I'm really going to start working on the long form content on YouTube. So if people want to hear any more from me, I'm going to get into the chaos gardening in depth. I'm going to get into the community compost program, do some more beekeeping stuff, and then I'll have like my full fall garden plan going. So I appreciate you having me on, man. It's been great. Yeah, I've been having a good time, and this has been fun.
Yeah, definitely. And for everybody else out there too, as well, like I said, we got links right down below, right in the description of the video here. I know that our JBot in the chat has also been dropping links as well too to our guests and everything. So, and I've seen a couple of people already put comments into the chat here that they've already gone over and subscribed and all of that to the channels and everything. So I encourage you all to go check out James over at Farm Boy James. We got a link, like I said, and go and subscribe. Go leave him a comment on one of his videos and one of his posts or something there, and let him know that you saw him here on the Let's Get Growing show. Like I said, James, really awesome, really great to, and now if anybody wants to know a little bit more about you, you can point them over here and say, hey, I did this long interview over here, and you could check it out and all of that sort of stuff too. So again, it was great to have you here. I hope that you had a great time here on the show as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me, and have a great day.
Yes, you too as well. We'll see you all, everybody, in just 1 second. We'll be right back.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. All right. Again, like I said, another fantastic show. It's so good to kind of get the show back kind of the way it should be. And we're getting all these really great guests. We've got more of them coming up for you here. I'll tell you in just a moment. But really great show today. Really awesome guests. And as I just mentioned there with James, get down in the description below. Go check out Angela over at Hippie Chick Homestead and James at Farm Boy James there too, and leave them a message and their comments and let them know you saw them here on the Let's Get Growing show. And again, everybody, thank you for being here. I love the questions. You guys brought in some couple of really great questions there for a guest as well too. So thank you all for that. And as I mentioned earlier too, we've got some great things coming up here this next weekend on the show. Like I said, we got Brian Lowell. I've been trying to get Brian on for a while. Luckily, we got our good friend Chad from Down Home Backyard Gardening on the case for us and helped us hook up a great conversation with Brian. We're going to have both of them together this next Saturday on the show. We'll have Chad. We'll get with him, talk with him on our Are You Following Me? And then he'll stick with us throughout the show, kind of as a little kind of guest co-host in a way too, having a guest co-host. And we'll have a great conversation with Brian, talk all about his garden story, talk about next level gardening and all of that as well too. His books, he's an author, all that sort of stuff. Brian's been on the top of my guest list for a long time. So it's going to be really great to finally get this guy on the show with us this next Saturday. So you're definitely not going to want to miss out on that conversation this next Saturday for sure. And as I had mentioned too, next Sunday is the third Sunday of the month. And that's, you know what we do on the third Sunday of the month. That's right. It's our monthly gardening book club. Yes, our monthly gardening book club next Sunday on the Sunday edition of the show. We've got our good friend, Mr. MBC, Mark Boucher Colbert. He's going to be joining with us. He'll be here actually for tomorrow's show. We've got him in the garden tomorrow, but he'll be live with us in the garden next Sunday. And for our conversation with Mark Valencia. Yes, Mark's back on the show again from one of the largest YouTube gardening channels in the world. Our Australian friend from down under, Mark Valencia from Self-Sufficient Me. He is a first-time author. That's right. He's a first-time author. That's his first book, 100 Top Crops You Can Grow. He'll be with us, joining us bright and early too. It's one thing we love about Mark as well too, is that he's so willing to get up with us so early, and as we say, from the future too, right? Because he's in Australia, so he's a day ahead of us here, and really, really nice and early. I think like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, he's gonna be getting up to hang out with us and talk all about this really great book that he wrote this last year. And I can't wait to talk with my good friend, Mr. NBC, with all of you about it this next Sunday. So we got a great weekend for the Let's Get Growing show this next weekend coming up. Brian Lowell from Next Level Gardening, Mark Valencia from Self-Sufficient Me. I mean, like, wow, how awesome is that going to be? So you're definitely not going to want to miss out on those as well too. So definitely right on, everybody. Again, thank you all so much, for being here. And if you can, let's go ahead and click that like button. Let's hit the thumbs up there too before you head out today. And if you haven't subscribed yet, definitely subscribe, hit the bell notification, share with all your friends, let them know that we're here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be here tomorrow. Again, I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do or what kind of conversation we're going to have, but I'll be here. I'm going to come hang out with you guys tomorrow. I've got a call out to a few folks right now to come in and jump in with us. So hopefully we'll have a really great, fun conversation with a guest. If not, we'll hang out with all of you and we'll talk about all sorts of great growing things going on in our garden for our Sunday edition tomorrow. And definitely, everybody, follow those links down below in the description to not only our guests, as I mentioned already before, and leave them a comment, but we've got links down below to our sponsor, Ivy Organics. Go over and check them out. Use our code GROW10, as I mentioned, over at ivyorganics.com and save 10% on their 3-in-1 plant guard. And also go check out all of our other great contributors to the show. We've got links to Brandy, the Suburban Gardenista, joined us today for garden trivia. Go and check her out over there at Suburban Gardenista. We've got links to David from Bowtie Life and Paul from Guten Gardening. We still got links to our good friend Shawnee and Shawnee Grows, Robin Gardens, and Katrina from Sow and Tear as they were doing our Grow What You Eat segment on our Monday show, which hopefully, again, we're still working some plans out. Things are starting to come together. So hopefully we'll be able to start giving some more information about what we're going to be doing as far as bringing our Monday evening green room show back on here as well too, hopefully pretty soon. I really loved that show, so I can't wait to get it back together and do some fun things. And hopefully, like I said, we'll have some information on that coming up here as well too. But thanks everybody again for being here. Like I said, I can't thank you all enough for just making these weekends just so awesome and fun for me here on the Let's Get Growing show. It's just wonderful to be able to hang out with these amazing gardeners and growers who spend their time to hang out with us here. But it's just really awesome to see all of you guys come together and come hang out with us as well too, and see that chat just go and go and go, and all of you folks having a great time in the chat as well. There was one thing I did want to mention here as well too. We did have a question I wanted to get. Let's see, was it in there? Maybe it's not in here. Oh, maybe it's not. Maybe I lost it. Okay. No, it was Serena. Serena was asking about cicadas. She was seeing cicadas and asking about those. And from what I remember, we talked with someone about cicadas this last season as there was a couple of huge broods that were coming up. But as far as I understand, cicadas don't eat. I don't think they even have mouths, so they can't mess with your garden as far as that goes. They just make a bunch of noise up in the trees and do everything that they got to do to procreate and get a whole new generation up underground for however many years. I mean, it's 17 years, some of them it takes for them to come popping back up again. I find them to be one of the more fascinating creatures on Earth for sure, just because of the way that all works out. But even more fascinating that they don't eat and don't have mouths. That's all they do is just get up and come out into the open world, find a mate, and then start a whole new generation all over again. But yeah, I don't think that they're going to be any harm to your garden. That's for sure. All right. Excellent. Yes. And as Jay said, she did leave some information in the chat for everybody there and on cicadas. So right on, everybody. It was a great show today. So awesome to hang out with you all. And again, we'll be back at it here tomorrow for the Sunday edition. I'll see all of you then.
The ugliest plant in the world, but I love it.